Hello and welcome to Georgia Bulldogs Live here on the voice of College Football. It is SEC Championship week, and Georgia didn't know they would be here, but I'm here. Matt Green, my co-host, is also here. Bo Underwood. Bo, how you doing, sir?
Doing good, man. We really didn't know for a while if we were gonna make it. This is our first show since knowing that Georgia made the SEC championship. So that's exciting. And as unlikely as it looked the whole year, at the 11th hour, here we go. We got the Bulldogs in Alabama once again playing in Atlanta. So it should be a fun one. As much as much has been made of Alabama owning Georgia lately. I guess I've got Stockholm syndrome, man, because I want them to play again, and I'm excited that they are. So it should be a lot of fun.
I'm ready to get hurt again. I believe I tweeted that out a couple nights ago. It is what it is. It's Georgia, Alabama, and it's you want to be on this big stage. It's weird. It is weird coming to because we did our instant reaction on Friday, and then so much more happened. Like literally, that night. I mean, Georgia clinched the SEC championship with the Texas win over A&M. But yeah, I think we were debating, like, do we want this? Do we want Georgia in the SEC championship? I don't know. After the Georgia Tech performance, I don't know, maybe just enjoy a little time off, get a home playoff game. There was still a chance they would get the top 4 seed without playing in the SEC championship. So that did look good, but at the end of the day, seeing Georgia in the SEC championship, that is what we really want. We want Georgia to win in Atlanta. We want this. You're not gonna sidestep the Alabama problem. You're just gonna have to take it on, head on. You're gonna have to beat them a few times in a row to change this narrative, and that's the opportunity they got this week.
Yeah, there was no way I was going to watch the Texas A&M versus Texas game and be like, ooh, fingers crossed. I hope A&M wins so Georgia doesn't make the SEC title game. Listen to yourself say that, That's ridiculous. I always want the Bulldogs to be able to compete for as much as they can compete for. And you can explain it to me like I'm 5 over and over again about why it's better to avoid injuries and have a playoff game in Stanford. That would all be cool. That would all be fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, I think you come to Georgia to play in games like this and play in as many huge games as possible. And here's another one right in front of you. You've got a chance once again to dispel the boogeyman and get your first win against Kalen DeBoer. So I'm excited. Like you said, I'm ready to get hurt again. I'm prepared for all possibilities, or prepared for, I guess, both possibilities. But either way, man, I'm stoked, and it should be cool, man. Back-to-back games in Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, for sure. It's and we'll get in further into the SEC championship later in the show, but yeah, it is interesting in a year where there's so much parity. It feels like it's the most balanced the SEC has ever been. Anyone can win the SEC this year, and then we end up with Georgia and Alabama in the SEC championship for the 4th time in the Kirby Smart era. Is that right? 0-3 in
Yeah, this is the 4th time, I think. Yeah, this is the 4th
time. Because the other loss would have been to LSU. So so we'll see. This is now, it's this was a big week. But I think you had some final thoughts about the first game we played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium with the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Anything upon further review that you wanted to say about that game before we put it completely in the rearview mirror?
Yeah, I did. I think they're going to have to really figure out this Drew Bobo injury situation. I mean, the way that they were running the ball in the first half of that game, and then after that, Bobo injury happened, and they couldn't get anything going at all. And I thought that was pretty concerning. Now, I definitely think that they have a 5-man combination that they can put out there and feel good about, but it's not looking like Bobo is going to be able to play in the SEC championship, and it's really kind of up in the air if he's going to play at all at this point the rest of the year. So I don't know if maybe they decide to just keep rolling with Tolliver at center, or maybe they try to move somebody inside. Maybe they move Michael Morris to center, or maybe they move Gaston to center, or maybe they move Donnie Glover to center. No, they have already asked a lot of those 2 freshmen this year. I mean, Gaston and Glover are true freshmen who have played multiple positions on the offensive line already Georgia's already had to shuffle around a lot of guys on their offensive line already. But I just think they're going to have to do it again, and they're going to have to find a way to put their best five out there no matter what, because I kind of think what they showed in that second half against Georgia Tech is kind of unacceptable going forward. I mean, that's one of the worst defenses in the entire country as far as Power 4 is concerned. And they were gashing them pretty good in the first half. I know that, some weird things happened with the turnover and the weird clock management at the end of the half, but they were definitely imposing their will for a good bit to start that game. And then they just weren't able to do that in the second half. And, Tech was allowed to creep back into a game that they had no business being in that game at all. So I'm a bit worried about the offensive line, bit of a throwback to earlier in the season when they had all those injuries and, they had a different five every game the first 5 weeks or so. So that doesn't make me feel great. It kind of gives me pause going into this SEC championship game against a really talented Alabama front. So I think they've got to figure that out.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And that's a good call because they had 145 yards rushing in the first half and then 45 in the second half, where, typically it's the reverse for a Georgia team when you're putting a game away in the second half. So that's definitely concerning. I feel like kind of rewatching this game, the most frustrating part was just the defense just got so many stops in this game. And it's just okay, this is where Georgia pulls away. And then just the offense just didn't reciprocate. They just didn't carry their weight in this game. And they just allowed Georgia Tech to hang around for 4 quarters. But yeah, I mean, this defense, maybe it's just the optimist in me, but the defense is the most encouraging thing from this game, because this is an offense that's averaging 500 yards a game or something.
Yeah.
And Georgia absolutely shut him down, a Heisman candidate at quarterback. So there is that. And maybe it's one of these games where Kirby Smart knew, they're not scoring 2 touchdowns on us. We're good. Let's pack it in and get to the SEC champion or finish the season, because he didn't know he was playing for the SEC championship at that point. Maybe that's all it is. But with how they were playing offensively, how conservative it was, and not really throwing the ball, it was just not throwing the ball to receivers, at least, except for Zachariah Branch. But yeah, it was very weird offensively. Yeah. So as bad as I felt about that, I guess 28 hours later, watching Alabama play Auburn, it's okay, well, Auburn's lost a lot of games, and so this is another rock fight that Alabama's playing. It is in Jordan-Hare Stadium, and anything can happen there. But yeah, that's probably all I have to say about Georgia Tech, unless you have anything else to add.
Yeah, they need Bowens back. His absence was definitely felt there. And then there was something else I was going to say. Oh yeah, I also
Josh McCray.
Yeah, but McCray didn't. I mean, McCray's not supposed to be a feature back. I thought it was cool to see him get more usage, but I also think we kind of, upon further review, I think we kind of saw why McCray is not a feature back in the SEC.
Yeah.
Or just for an SEC team. He's very much a, power short yardage specialist. And there's nothing wrong with that, because he's great in that role. But I know that they don't really want to be relying on him as much as that. And I don't know. I think the play calling as a whole got really conservative after that Gunnar Stockton interception.
Yeah.
And, I like Mike Bobo. I think Bobo's a very good play caller, but he does tend to get really overly conservative, I think, after a turnover. And I would like to see him kind of let it rip a little bit more. And maybe that could be famous last words, because we saw Georgia last year with Beck at quarterback. They would have 1 turnover, and then it would immediately turn into 2, and then it would turn into 3. And maybe that approach this year is just an attempt to kind of avoid that. But I would like to see a bit more aggressiveness, because, Stockton threw that 1 pick in the intermediate area of the field, 10 to 19-yard throw, and they never really attempted to access that area of the field really again the whole rest of the way, even when they stopped being able to run the ball. So I would like to see a bit more aggressiveness from Bobo following turnovers, but, God forbid that you even have a turnover in the first place, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And all of his turnovers have been like poor decisions over the middle. It kind of seems like so maybe you're just avoiding that because that's the only way Tech can beat Georgia is by getting turnovers. But yeah, it definitely got too conservative for me. But how about this stat for you, sir? Georgia's now won 8 straight against the Yellow Jackets. They've won 9 straight against the Tennessee Volunteers, 9 straight against the Auburn Tigers, and 8 of 9 against the Florida Gators. Like,
Crazy.
we're almost a
Insane.
decade straight of not losing to your 4 main rivals. Let's not worry about record versus the Alabama Crimson Tide over that time. But the record over those 4 teams is just, it's insane. And it's like the global pandemic is really the only time they lost any of these games to Florida. It's like, who knows? Things could be different. If Jamie Newman is the quarterback for Georgia in 2020, as Bo Underwood highlighted. Check out that video on our channel.
Oh, yeah. You saw it?
Yeah, I did. It's a great
Nice.
job, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, COVID was created in a lab to prevent Georgia from beating Florida. That's what happened there. Yeah,
that's what people talk about.
Yeah, we're definitely, as much as the whole national narrative is, Georgia can't beat Alabama. They've got an Alabama problem, and we'll hear that a lot this week. But we definitely are very much living in the golden age of Georgia football right now in terms of this rivalry domination. I mean, go back to somebody from the 90s and tell them that this would happen. Their head would explode. Georgia used to be on the other end of that. They used to not be able to beat Florida at all. They used to struggle against Auburn. They used to lose to Tennessee all the time. Like, the fact that they're dominating these games and these rivalries is pretty remarkable, especially like as college football continues to, have more parity and more player movement and everything. The fact that up to this point they've largely been able to keep that going is very impressive.
It really is, man. It's Alabama hasn't is the only other team that's had this level of consistency, and like I think they even had some years. I mean, maybe the SEC West was better than the East, so there's years where they missed the SEC championship. But yeah, it's insane consistency what Georgia's built under Kirby Smart. The Biscuit 77-25 chime in here. If Jamie Newman just wouldn't have wasted our first team snaps all spring, yeah, man, I'm sure that played a role.
2 weeks before the season, opted out. That's crazy.
And I mean, there was a few opt-outs, but there wasn't even that many opt-outs nationally, if I remember right.
And like the guys that opted out were like Jamar Chase and
that's right,
Micah Parsons and Penei Sewell. Like those guys are all going to be Hall of Famers one day. Those guys knew they were going round 1. So obviously, as I said on my video, we'll probably never know all the way why Newman opted out, but yeah, for him to take all the first team reps basically that whole spring and summer. Well, they didn't really have spring, but yeah, that whole summer, and then opt out at the last second, that definitely really, really hurt the offense. And that was a rough offense for most of that year, man.
Oh, for sure. Stetson had his couple of good games, and then there was also that weird stuff with like JT Daniels. Was he healthy or not healthy for several weeks? It was like, I guess that was a JT Daniels trend.
Yeah, he didn't get healthy until November.
Yeah, but and then there's that famous clip of Dwan Mathis coming into the Florida game. Yeah, not the most accurate throw on the sideline. No, also T-Bone chiming in here. Go Dogs. Appreciate you watching live. As always, T-Bone. We appreciate it. But yeah, 2020, crazy year. That's the only time Georgia lost to their rivals.
It was weird. It was a weird time.
So speaking of weird time, sir, it is a weird time to be talking recruiting now.
Yeah.
Because it's the week of the SEC championship, and I don't even know if we should be talking recruiting right now, but yeah, Georgia's right now got the second-ranked class in the country, and all of the talk is about Jared Curtis on if he's flipping to Vanderbilt. And I think he was supposed to announce on Friday, but they're playing the state championship on Thursday. So he's just going to go ahead and sign on Wednesday when everyone else is signing on the early national signing day. Yeah, man, I don't know. I saw something on like message boards that said like, because there was all the kinds of talk. Steve Wiltfong put in a crystal ball prediction for him to go to Vanderbilt, and allegedly his mom on Twitter, who knows what's real and what's not on Twitter these days, but allegedly his mom on Twitter said like, go Dogs. Like,
Yeah,
so I don't know.
She's like, I prefer red and black or something like that.
Yeah. Someone said it'll look good in black and gold, and her comment was, yeah, go Dogs, looks better in red and black. So I think Jared Curtis is still a Georgia. He is still a Georgia commit as far as we know, but that's going to be, with so little noise. It just seems like one of the quietest recruiting cycles ever. Georgia just basically had their class in August, July. That's really going to be the only drama we have on Wednesday on signing day is if Jared Curtis actually signs with Georgia.
Yeah, but it's a hell of a lot of drama. I mean, it's the number one quarterback recruit in the country, deciding whether or not he's going to sign with you or flip to his hometown school. So that's maybe the most traumatic scenario you can dream up in recruiting. I'm not so sure, man. I don't know. Maybe people will get mad if I say this, but I'm not so sure Curtis is going to Georgia. I really don't. It doesn't. I can't base that off anything because I'm not paying for these websites that have the insider information. I'm not really doing any of that. But just from and I shouldn't be basing this off of this, but just from the feel of everything, it just doesn't seem like things are going to end with him, being a Bulldog for 3 years, because like it hasn't ever ended that well with Georgia and these blue chip hotshot quarterback prospects. There's just always some funny business going on. You can go back to Justin Fields and that whole saga, and then
Jacob Eason didn't end up at Georgia.
Most recently, you can go to Dylan Raiola committed, and then immediately after committing, got a Godfather offer from a legacy school that his dad played for, everything, and that was kind of it. And he didn't go to Georgia, and then that was just kind of an afterthought. So I kind of think the same thing with Curtis, man. I mean, he's from Nashville. They just extended to Clark Lee. I haven't seen a bunch of insider buzz, but what I have seen is kind of been saying like, oh, the Lee extension was the last domino that needed to happen or needed to fall, the last thing that needed to happen for Curtis to flip. And you have, Bargatze recruiting him on College game day. You have stuff like that. Like,
my guy.
I'm not saying he's going to go to Vanderbilt because Nate Bargatze told him to, but I just think all of it put together just doesn't really make me feel that good about his commitment. But the good news is, I guess he's moving it up. He's being very considerate to all of us Georgia fans who are losing sleep over it because he's not making us wait until Friday anymore. So it'll be really interesting, man.
So do you think the move up, reading the tea leaves, is that help or hurt Georgia?
Man. I think it just casts more doubt about the decision. I think any new development in this saga can only hurt Georgia, If we weren't hearing anything this whole time, I'd feel better about it. But the more rumblings and stuff that starts to happen, I just feel like it makes it more chaotic. And if a guy is committed to your school and his commitment gets more chaotic, does that make you feel better? No.
See, I think the fact that he was signing on Friday was the weird part. So the fact that he's moved it to the regular day, and this is, with no insider information, just vibes wise, it seems like that would be like, I'm not going to make him sweat for like 2 days. Let me go ahead and just get this done on Wednesday. Because I wasn't doing it on Friday for the drama, but now there's all this drama around it, and I'm playing the state championship on Thursday. I can just go ahead and end it. Who knows? Maybe he still signs with Georgia. Maybe he signs with Vanderbilt. You know what I think is one thing that's in Georgia's favor is if signing day was a week later, the Heisman finalists would be announced. And if Vanderbilt has a Heisman Trophy finalist after a 10-2 season and they're throwing a bunch of NIL money at you, that might make Vanderbilt look a little more attractive.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, I'd probably still rather have signing day week be than now, the week of conference title games. And I'm sure a lot of coaches would agree with that. But yeah, that's definitely true. And you do make a good point about, maybe about him moving his recruitment up could totally be, or his commitment rather, could totally be him trying to nip it in the bud and eliminate the drama rather than cause some new drama. And maybe he is just doing it to be like, look, guys, I'm going to Georgia. Forget about it. You can stop all of this stuff. But I don't know. There has been so much noise about it, man. If he was from anywhere on earth other than Nashville, Tennessee, I'd probably feel a lot better about it. But we'll see, man. We've got a little over. We've got what, like 36 out, not even that. I mean, we've got a little more than a day left till we find out. So,
no, I think that's fair. And Steve Wiltfong is the best national recruiting person in the business, and he's picking Vanderbilt. But also, I feel like Rusty Mansell is like the best Georgia insider in the business, and he seems to think Curtis sticks with Georgia. So we'll see. It's gonna be some drama until Wednesday, and that's what the fans want. They can pretend they don't want it, but they do want this. They want the Isaiah Crowell puppy dog moment, National Signing Day. That's what we're missing with this early signing period. I feel like we don't get enough of those like famous signing day moments anymore.
Yeah, nobody's pulling a Clay Walker anymore, picking up the hat and throwing it away.
Yeah, this Georgia's class has been basically, I'd have to look at the commits, but yeah, I mean, I think it's
I saw the
last commit was August 2nd. I see Anthony Lonan Jr. Lonan, if I'm pronouncing his name.
Yeah, that's the guy from Clark Central, I think. But
yeah,
they've got like a 4-star lineman, Tyreek Jemison, who is picking between Georgia and Ole Miss, and then there's a 4-star guy from Woodward Academy in Atlanta.
Is he committed somewhere else right now, or would he just decommit from somewhere?
I don't think he's committed anywhere. It says here that he's picking between Georgia, Vanderbilt, and Miami, so he will be committing on Wednesday as well. So there's a handful of guys that still have to make their decisions, and Georgia had a safety that just flipped to Tech recently, which is always interesting. That's got to let them have that if they can't beat us. So, there's a few more dominoes that need to fall outside of Jared Curtis, but yeah, for the most part, I mean the bulk of the eyeballs are definitely going to be on the number one quarterback in the nation. Where is he going to go? And
yeah, for sure,
I understand that.
For sure, this is honestly one of the years the most former Georgia Bulldog shout outs I can remember from the Georgia Tech game, by the way, like EJ Lightsey and Brent Seither, both making some play. I can't remember a lot of like just the announcer saying, "Oh, the former Bulldog," for Georgia Tech. JJ Green comes to mind, but I don't know. There's not a lot of other ones I can think of.
Yeah, Lightsey had a good game, man. I mean, he was all over the field. I feel like he was.
Yeah, probably led them in tackles, right?
Yeah, he had to have.
But yeah, so that's okay. Yeah, he was all over the place. But yeah, the transfer. So that's all we got for National Signing Day. That's on Wednesday. I think Kirby Smart is just so good at recruiting that it's made recruiting less interesting for Georgia fans. That's like, yeah, I don't know what our class is going to be. It's probably going to be number 2, number 3, and the 3 stars in the class are probably going to end up being some of the better players in the whole class. Seems to be how it works out with the Lad McConkeys and Javon Bullards of the world. Yep. But yeah, it's another good class for Georgia. Hopefully they end it with the cherry on top that is the number 1 ranked quarterback in the country. And who knows? I mean, if some sort of domino effect happens, I guess if Curtis signs somewhere else, if Georgia gets in the mix, I don't know any other quarterbacks that they're in the mix for.
Man, I mean that's gonna be that wherever he goes will definitely have a big ripple effect in this signing day and probably even the portal and beyond. So it's a huge decision, man. It really is. I mean, it's as big of a decision as a single recruitment can be. I mean, you're picking between the established superpower team and the up and coming upstart SEC team that has never been good before, but has just had its best season ever and is a national darling and for good reason and everything. So it's about as dramatic as you can get, man. And yeah, like you said, I don't blame anybody for lapping it up.
Yeah, and it's your hometown, and it's a good, really good school. Like, and obviously it's NIL. It's gonna be like the number one reason he makes a decision. I'm sure Vanderbilt's gonna just throw a bunch of money at him, but there are other things that Vanderbilt is bringing to the table for sure.
Definitely.
But Jared, if you're listening to this,
come on, man.
Forget all those things. All those things are stupid, and Georgia's better. So, also Nate Bargatze's my guy. It was painful to see Nate Bargatze recruiting him on national television.
Yeah, I like Nate too, man.
Yeah, he's great. So, all right. So, before we get to Alabama, sir, and because we're not doing this on Tuesday this week, so college football playoff rankings are going to come out this week, but I think we all kind of have an idea of what the committee is going to do to an extent. We haven't talked about Lane Kiffin, and obviously that's a huge story, but who knows if they try to do something with Lane Kiffin. I don't know. Penalize Ole Miss in some way. But this is I think I got this from Bleacher Report here, sir. This is their playoff predictions. Ohio State 1, Indiana 2, Georgia 3, Texas Tech 4. And then those are how the matchups would shake out. I really want to know what the committee, and then I also Oregon at 5. I think those are all like really safe. I really want to know what the committee is going to do with Texas A&M. They have Texas A&M at 6, Ole Miss 7, Oklahoma 8, Notre Dame 9, Alabama 10. A&M does not have the resume that Alabama, Ole Miss, or Oklahoma have. Like, and Ole Miss's resume isn't even that great, but their one loss is to Georgia. Like A&M's one loss is worse than that. Their best win is Notre Dame. Ole Miss's best win is Oklahoma, like who you have ranked one spot ahead of Notre Dame. So like, I'm not really sure. And LSU, I guess they both beat LSU. I'm not really sure why A&M is ahead of Ole Miss at this point. And I would put Oklahoma and Alabama ahead of Ole Miss, ahead of Texas A&M. If I'm being honest.
Sorry.
So this is a Bleacher Report. I don't know the person that's attached to it.
I mean, Bleacher Report.
But I think this is a reasonable expectation for what the committee is going to do, though.
Yeah, you could probably talk yourself into having Ole Miss as like the highest at-large SEC team. We'll talk. I mean, I don't think Alabama's in at all if they lose to Georgia. And if they beat Georgia, they'll probably be higher than 10. So that 10 spot to me is more of a, tentative placeholder than anything. Because I don't think that there's a scenario where Alabama gets the 10 seed in the playoff. Like either way, right?
But that's what they did last year. Like SMU was like ranked like 11th or something, and then lost to Clemson. And their whole argument was that, you can't punish a team because they played a 13th game versus a team that only played 12 or something. So I'm with you that if they lose the SEC championship, they should probably be out of it, especially since you have some borderline teams. Like what happens if BYU beats Texas Tech? I guess is that a scenario where Alabama could be bumped out because then BYU is someone who earned their way in, and then it's like, well, we have Texas Tech 4 right now, but they're still on the field. You can't drop them a second loss. Texas Tech go from 4 or drop below the team that's number 10 right now. I guess that's the scenario that could happen.
BYU makes it, or if BYU wins, I think they're in.
But is Texas Tech in too?
Yeah. Because Texas Tech already smoked BYU in the regular season, so it would just cancel out.
I don't know if everyone feels that way. BYU would be in because they have an automatic qualifier, but
no, but I just think you can't leave Texas Tech out because it's not like Texas Tech can't beat BYU.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, and that's fair. And I just don't think they would drop anyone from 4 to basically 11 because the top 10 are going to be the seeds, and then the 11 and 12 are going to be teams that are outside the rankings, like Virginia and North Texas right here. So, like, for them to fall out of the top 10, I guess we said I think that's the only scenario where Alabama can't make the playoff, to be honest. I think if Texas Tech wins, Georgia beats Alabama by 2 touchdowns, I don't think you're going to say, okay, on whatever date, December 2nd, Alabama is better than Miami, or whoever named Utah, and then they lose to Georgia. It's like, no, I now think Miami's better than Alabama in the 13th game while Miami's sitting at home not playing anybody. I don't think the committee's going to do that.
people are gonna rally. They're gonna want Vanderbilt in there. They're gonna want
Vanderbilt
Miami in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Vanderbilt. If Bama loses, I don't think Vanderbilt should get in over them because Alabama obviously beat Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt didn't even make their title game. But like, I don't know. I guess the one scenario where I think Alabama would be out, or at least should be out, is if BYU beats Texas Tech and then Georgia beats Alabama. But I don't
because
really.
then
I don't
BYU
really.
would have
I mean, I don't
stolen a
really.
spot.
I don't even want to spend too much time on that because I don't think BYU is going to beat Texas Tech. Like,
Yeah.
I just I don't really think they will. But I don't know. Alabama is just in a weird spot to me. They would have 3 losses, and I don't know, man. They'd have 3 losses, and then their biggest resume win over Georgia, depending on if Georgia beats them and if Georgia really beats them bad or whatever. Like, Alabama hasn't looked like a playoff team lately.
Yeah.
But they do have the resume to where they probably still would deserve to make it if the season ended right now and there just wasn't a conference title game for some reason. But I don't know, man. I think the rest of this field is probably what's going to hold. Maybe the seeding changes a little bit. The seeding will change a little bit. 1 and 2 is going to probably be different because they're playing each other. The only team that I could see not being in this field that would sneak in would be like Miami potentially or BYU potentially. And there's probably someone else I'm forgetting, but I don't think Vanderbilt.
The only other option is like if Duke wins the ACC, then I think
Madison
can get in at that point.
One, dude. If a 7-5 Duke team wins the ACC and like doesn't make the play, like.
But I'll tell you what. I'll give credit where it's due. Steve Sarkisian is probably a hell of a recruiter because I have very, strong opinions about college football, and he made me question everything. He was like, he like sold me in like 2 seconds after the A&M game, that post game interview. I mean, once he starts talking about, like, for one, Texas hasn't looked like a playoff team most of the season, like close wins over some mediocre teams, but his whole point was like, if we're a 10-2 team and if we would have played some cupcake instead of Ohio State, we would be in the playoff. But we're being penalized for playing like big time out of conference games. And
they're being penalized for losing that game. They're not being penalized for playing it.
But if they wouldn't have played it, they would have
lost. That's what they're being penalized for.
But if they would not have played that game and they would have played Sam Houston that week and they're 10-2, is Texas in the field right now?
Yeah, probably.
So it's like, I know it's like he's not wrong, but and they beat Vanderbilt. Also, their resume is like low key impressive at this point.
Not wrong, but I just
wins over Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, and who's the other one? Who's the other good win?
They beat Vanderbilt,
Texas
A&M. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, yeah, sure, he has a point there, but I don't like the whole thing of like you schedule a game, you lose the game, and then you start complaining about why you're being penalized for losing the game. Like, yeah, sure. Maybe, yeah, I'm sure looking back, if he could unschedule Ohio State and play Sam Houston State, he would. But you know what? They also played 3 straight cupcakes after that game anyway. Like, they played that game, and then they had basically a scrimmage for 3 weekends straight after that, and didn't even look that great in some of those games. And then, they come out and they lose to Florida and they get handled by Georgia. Like, great win over A&M, definitely. But I don't think that Texas needs to go down as some martyr because they lost to Ohio State week 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is fair. It's definitely trying to have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
You loved the month worth of hype about your game week 1 and everything. Exactly. and everything that came, all the buildup that came with that game. So no, that's fair. And I don't think Texas is a top 12 team. Ultimately, like, I mean, I feel like Vanderbilt's better than them, but they did beat Vanderbilt. So, there's no real argument there. But yeah, it's unfortunate for Vanderbilt. That's probably the story of the year, and them 10-2 SEC team getting held out.
I kind of hate it. It would be a lot of fun to see them in the playoff. I just
for
unfortunately don't
sure.
really think they're gonna make it, but I don't know. Maybe ESPN and their made for TV wisdom, they randomly let Vanderbilt in, but they shouldn't, and I don't think they will.
Yeah, and it's not the most impressive resume. I think you've seen all the stats about Tennessee, right? That they have not beaten a team with a they haven't beaten a team that's going to a bowl game all season.
Vanderbilt doesn't have a top 25 win. Like they straight up
Yeah,
do not.
like
So
Tennessee is the best one, and there's a lot of
yeah,
stats about how fraudulent Tennessee is. So, and what's their next best win? I guess Missouri.
their second best win is a loss to Texas.
Honestly, the Alabama performance is probably
Yeah, I heard that. And no, yeah, all seriousness, it's Missouri probably. They beat LSU at the. I mean, because they killed LSU and South Carolina at the time when those teams were both like top 10 or top 15 or whatever. But those teams both turned out to kind of suck. One of them fired their coach midseason, and one of them won 4 games. So
LSU at the time probably was the best because I think they were like top 10 or so at the time. But
they were, yeah.
But yeah, Missouri and Tennessee were kind of those two SEC teams that were like lost to all the good teams they played, and they're the ones that I feel like the Big Ten fans are hating on about. Oh, they're just in there. They're in the rankings because they're the SEC, whatever. Even though I think Tennessee's out of the top 25 this week, but those fans up north love to hate on the SEC bias that that ESPN and also NFL teams they all have, where all the best players play. But we will have to get into that right now, sir. But yeah, I thought this was interesting. I think Georgia wins the SEC and they probably get the 2. Indiana probably falls to 3, I guess. Maybe Texas Tech, but I don't know. We'll see what happens if Georgia. Will Alabama jump all the way to number 2 if they beat Georgia? I don't know. SEC champion will jump way up there, but
maybe like Oregon would be ahead of them or something somehow. I don't know. That seems like a lot of spots to jump, but
yeah, maybe Texas Tech is the 2 seed.
They'd get a pretty good seed if they beat Georgia. That's for sure.
Yeah, and if Indiana's only loss is Ohio State, they're not dropping.
It probably would be the Red Raiders, dude. If the Red Raiders were 11-1, 12-1 with a conference title, they'd be number 2. And I wouldn't have a problem with that in the event that Georgia loses.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I think Georgia's worst case scenario is hosting a home playoff game. So I think that should be pretty solid. But yeah, I think the first year where the playoff got messed up was the top 4 seedings, and Boise State, Arizona State getting a bye just jacked up the whole like strength of the bracket and stuff. I think we might find out that that's what 11 and 12 are doing, Virginia and North Texas. Whereas if we actually had the 12 best teams, it might be a lot of fun. If that's Miami and BYU in those final 2 spots, or Miami and Vanderbilt or something in those final 2 spots. But that's what we got for now, sir.
Yeah. I like the group of 5 teams get a shot, so I have no problem with them having a spot. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, I guess as far as preserving the importance of the regular season, like only having a handful of SEC teams that can get into the playoff, it does still make a lot of those games really important. Like now we've seen you can be a 2-loss team and not get in the college football playoff from the SEC. Like every Saturday is important. Like you got to take care of business, be at worst a 1-loss team, I guess, to get there.
Yeah, they should really be trying to preserve the importance of the regular season every single opportunity they get, because that used to be what made college football so special in the first place, was how important the regular season was relative to other sports. So the fact that they've kind of gotten away from that, I think is probably the number one thing harming the sport. So any chance they can get to kind of reinforce that, I think they need to really hammer that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Also, if Alabama would have lost, Georgia would be playing Ole Miss in the SEC championship. Do they make Lane make a decision this week? Like early signing day is this week and everything. Like that was part of it, right? Like you can't be recruiting for LSU and be going Ole Miss.
Lane was out of there regardless, man. I think even if Ole Miss could be playing in that game this weekend, Lane would still be out of there.
Pete Golding would be coaching him this week in Atlanta.
Yeah, that's the kind of guy Lane is, man.
That's wild. See, I don't know. See, Lane wanted to stay and coach them.
Yeah, but they
Ole
should.
Miss was the
But
one that like forced
that
their
was
hand.
never going to happen.
See,
That
I
that was ridiculous that he first even tried to do it, and then second of all tried to make that public statement where he's like, "Well, the players wanted me to, and the AD wouldn't let me." Like, dude, you left the school. You
I don't
can't.
know, man. I
You
think I'm in
cannot have your
Lane's
cake
camp
and eat it,
here.
dude. Like you can't. I think it's. There was a moment where I was like, "Oh, well, maybe they do have the best chance of winning with Lane," but no, you can't have a coach that's forget 1 foot out the door. You can't have a coach that's on a plane to Baton Rouge trying to coach Ole Miss. It's ridiculous.
But what about the fact that Tulane and North Texas could both potentially get in the playoff? Their coaches have taken other jobs, and they both said that they will coach them to the end of the season, even though they've taken these new jobs. Is that different?
Yeah, it's different because their coaches didn't entertain the media circus the entire season that they might leave. I mean, this is the greatest season in Ole Miss history. They went 11-1, had the best year they've ever had, and all Kiffin has done at every turn is make it about him. So I do think it's different. I think Lane Kiffin is just a different case because he's just a different kind of guy.
See, I would say that. I would say the media was talking about Lane taking one of these big time jobs more than Lane was like making it about him. Like, because I mean, if you're one of the best coaches in college football, like, yeah, people want you, Like, I don't know that that's Lane's fault for just being the coach that every big time opening wants to hire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Lane has also spent Lane made no attempt to ever say stuff like, "Oh, I'm focusing on this team. I'm not entertaining coaching possibilities and stuff." Lane was always like, when they asked him about Florida and asked him about LSU, he was visiting those places in the middle of the season. His family was going to Gainesville and going to Baton Rouge like during the year. Like, I do think Lane was kind of playing it up, man. I don't think the program would have given him an ultimatum. You have to decide by this date if he weren't doing that.
Yeah, that could be fair. I personally think Ole Miss, this is Ole Miss kind of their ego showing a little bit and kind of getting in their feelings.
Their ego?
Yeah, because I think Tulane and North Texas, someone like that, or even James Madison, because their coach just accepted the UCLA job. Like, those schools know what they are, that they're a stepping stone program. They're like, yeah, man, just stay as long as you want. Finish out the season. We get it. You're going to go on to a bigger and better job. Whereas Ole Miss is like, you think LSU's bigger and better? Well, the hell with you then.
Yeah, because he's going to one of their main rivals.
Yeah, but this is the best season you've ever had, and you're sabotaging your own postseason.
Yeah, I don't know who Tulane's big rivals are off the top of my head. I know they don't because they don't play LSU anymore.
Southern Miss, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, like their coach isn't going there. Lane Kiffin is going to one of Ole Miss big rivals. That's the problem.
Maybe that is the issue.
Maybe they would let him.
If he was taking the Notre Dame job, would they?
Yeah, if he was going back to coach the FAU Owls, then maybe they would let him stay. But
obviously, but that's not a scenario though. But so like, if he was going to like be the head coach at just a better football program, if he took, Ole Miss and Florida isn't a rivalry. If he took the Florida job, would they have acted differently?
Well, no, that's still a conference. That's still like a school that you compete against in terms of recruiting, and you play them, every few years. Like,
so if he took the Penn State job.
I think it might finish it out. I still don't think you let him finish it out, but I think it would be a little bit different. I don't think he would be getting the same amount of backlash, and I don't think that Ole Miss they would still be pissed. They'd still hate him, but I don't think it would be as bad.
Yeah. It's I feel like it's more of a college football issue than a Lane Kiffin issue. I think he is the guy. And we haven't ever seen a college football season with more big time openings in one season. Like for Florida, LSU, Auburn, and Penn State all to be open in the same year is kind of wild. And it's not even the whole list. I mean, it's Arkansas, it's Virginia Tech, like UCLA. Like there were so many out there, Oklahoma State. Like there were so many out there, and he was just like the clear number one coach that everyone wanted. it's like I think this showed is just like you got to do something about this calendar of this sport where early signing day is happening the week of the conference championship. Like, and
you can't.
Yeah, it's just difficult. This guy wants to stay on and finish what he started, but he like can't do that without like doing a disservice to basically both programs, the one he's currently at and the one that he's going to be that he's going to go to later. So hopefully they do something. Signing day should be in March, as far as I'm concerned. It should be after the NFL season is completely over, because some of these guys are going to take NFL jobs. They're going to take defensive back coaches for NFL. Like, that's why Roquan Smith ended up for Georgia, because Jeff Ulbrich from UCLA took the Falcons D coordinator job, right? So it's like these guys are all in the same ecosystem in terms of the job opportunities and everything. You're causing someone to be a liar at some point in the situation and say, "Oh, I'm staying here," and then bouncing on a recruit or players. So I don't know. They got to do something to fix it. But I don't necessarily fault Lane as much as a lot of people out there are.
I just think he could have definitely handled it better, man. And I don't think there are many more guys that just love attention in college football more than Lane Kiffin. And we had to be subjected to all of that saga now, and he got what he wanted. He got his bag. He's going to burn the Ole Miss program to the ground with him.
Yeah, sure, man. The bag isn't what he wanted, though. He could have got the bag at Ole Miss. It's LSU he's trying to win a championship, and I think you can win a championship year in, year out.
Ole Miss just bought him a defensive line of 4 NFL starters last year. I know that LSU is a bigger program, and the thought is like, well, if they let him do all of this at Ole Miss, imagine what LSU could do. But like, Ole Miss last year probably had the greatest roster of all time. That's not going to make the 12-team playoff.
Yeah.
So it's not like Ole Miss was some little engine that only
an NFL
got
quarterback
because of Lane Kiffin. No, they have money too, man. Like,
no, that's true.
I don't know. I don't want to talk about Kiffin anymore.
I think we've set it up for sure. I think that's what it was. Ole Miss is like, we're a powerhouse too. So if you don't want to be here, you can go and get out.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the SEC championship here, sir. I got another graphic on the screen here. Georgia playing in their 8th SEC championship in the last 9 years, sir. Since 2017. And this is very important. If you look at all those logos on the screen there, I think we all remember a lot of losses in the SEC championship. We remember all the Bama games, but Georgia is winning a lot of these SEC championships as well. Obviously, they are on the win column side in 2025, but that one hasn't happened yet. But yeah, so if Kirby can win this, we know about the 1-7 record versus Alabama and everything, but the 3-4 record in SEC championships, he could go to 500, be 4-4 in SEC championships. That'd go a long way.
Yeah, it absolutely would. I mean, that's like one of really the only monkey. Well, it's not even a monkey on his back because he's won the damn thing 3 times. But yeah, there's only so many scenarios that Kirby Smart has a losing record in. So yeah, and I know that he says he doesn't lose sleep over his record against Bama. So he damn sure doesn't lose sleep over his record in the SEC championship. But I mean,
that's a better record.
I mean, the fact that every game in this thing since, I mean, even I'm sure even before 2017, it's involved Alabama. Like, the more things change in the SEC, the more they stay the same, man. Like, these two programs are just inevitable. It's really something to behold.
Yeah, if you go back 2016, 15, 14, 13, Auburn would have been in it. 11, LSU was in it. Oh, and then 2010, Auburn would have been in it. So I guess since 2014, yeah, Alabama has just been in like all of them. And yeah, 08, 09, they've definitely.
And when they're not, in it.
Yeah, I'd like to see that stat because the most common matchup in the SEC championship history, and this is what, 92, so this is like the 33rd SEC championship, something like that, 34th or something. Florida Alabama has been played 10 times, and Georgia LSU has been played 5 times, and now this will be the 5th Georgia Alabama matchup. So I mean that's 15 Alabama SEC championships just right off the bat, just of those two matchups. So who else? I know Alabama played Missouri one year. South Carolina's only been to that
Auburn
one.
played Missouri that year, didn't they? Oh,
Missouri won it back to back. Yeah, won the East back to back.
Hilarious.
Crazy that happened. That's probably one of the reasons Mark Richt got fired. Like, what is Missouri doing in the SEC championship? But yeah, so this will be the 5th time. But Georgia, it's 2-3 versus LSU in those 5 games. Georgia 0-4 versus Alabama. So you gotta get in the win column. You can't get to 0-5.
Yeah, you definitely do. I mean, and I'm fully prepared for that. Well, I was gonna say this is not gonna be a normal blowout game, but they have had that game. Georgia's had games where they got destroyed in the 2021 game. But yeah, I mean, this is another chance. We said it. We fully admitted it back in September when Alabama came to Athens and beat Georgia. Like, this team has an Alabama problem. Alabama is the boogeyman. Alabama owns them, whatever, all that. But you live to fight another day, and you've got another chance to beat them here. And obviously, a win over Alabama, it would move Kirby Smart to 2-7 against them all time, 1-4 in the SEC championship. So it's not a magic fix me, to that narrative or anything, but it would go a long way. I mean, avenging that loss in the same season for sure. It would definitely make a lot of people forget about the first one. I think we saw that with the 2017 Auburn game. I mean, nobody really remembers that Auburn killed Georgia in the regular season that year, because when it actually, really mattered and the playoff was on the line, Georgia came out and smoked them. And once again here, I really do think the playoff is on the line. Maybe not for both of these teams. I think if Georgia loses this game, they're still in the playoff. And maybe if Bama loses this game, they're still in the playoff. But I think it's really damn close. I mean, if Alabama loses this game, the only way they'd make the playoff is maybe be the very last at-large team to make it.
Yeah.
At the very least, they'd be at that ceremony. Their players be biting their fingernails and stuff. They'd be pretty nervous. I kind of think it would knock them out entirely altogether, but we'd have to wait and see. So, I mean, yeah, once again, like, these teams always meet each other in big games, man. It's an inevitable matchup. They gave us a really good game already this year. Now it's on a neutral field. It should be a pretty even split in the crowd. There's not going to be, 90,000 strong in Athens screaming at you every time you snap the ball if you're Alabama. So, man, like, it'll be crazy. I can't believe that this game happened again. I mean, for as many different SEC programs as the media has tried to prop up this year, as many different programs have had really good years this year. We had to hear all about Texas all summer. I mean, nope, Georgia, Bama, as it always is.
Yeah, it is really crazy, especially after that first week of the season, Alabama losing to Florida State, to see them back in the SEC championship. And I don't know, and maybe this is just what it is now. There is more parity because neither of these teams feel like the same juggernauts they've been in some of these previous matchups. It's like as negative as I want to get, it's like, this Georgia team is flawed. Like, the defense is giving up a lot of points to a lot of teams, and now the offense didn't look good versus Georgia Tech. And it's like, you look at Alabama's entire schedule, like whether it's a 3-point win over Missouri or losing to Oklahoma, losing to a really bad Florida State team. I know it was 14 weeks ago, but it did still happen. Almost losing, like going down to the wire with Auburn. Like, Cam Coleman goes out of bounds late in the game. I don't know what he's doing cutting that back late in the game with like 20, 30 seconds left, but Auburn had a chance to beat Alabama. What, a 6-6 Auburn team? Like, they've played with South Carolina. What a team that won 3 games this year. Almost beat Alabama. So they've had so many of these close games this year, but I think that's just where we are, that there is a lot of parity in this conference. And but Georgia and Alabama still seem to be the cream rising to the top, if you will.
Yeah, I mean they and like it's just weird because it's not like either of these teams have really dominated in the SEC since. I mean, they both had a ton of close calls. You know, Georgia had theirs against Auburn. They had one against Florida. They had trouble with
Tennessee.
yeah, Tennessee, of course. Ole Miss obviously was a crazy shootout game, and then Alabama to me, I mean, has not really looked good at all since the Vanderbilt game. I mean, I guess they shredded a really bad Tennessee defense, but aside from that, I mean, they have really struggled in just about every single game that they've played. So, but both of these teams kind of, I'm not going to say they limped their way into there because, you know, Georgia started playing a lot better the second half of the regular season, albeit the Tech game was a bit of a rough showing. Like, I don't know, man. It's weird because you think back to that game in September that Georgia played Alabama, and you know Ty Simpson was picking up all these third downs, and he was looking automatic. And then after the game, it was like, oh my God, Ty Simpson's the Heisman winner and everything. But since then, I think Bama's had a lot more questions than answers on the offensive side of the ball. They haven't been able to run the ball. Jay Miller was running really well against Auburn. He got hurt. He left that game on crutches. He's probably not going to play. If he does play, then who knows what he'll come out there looking like. I know they had somebody else get injured in that game too. It was they had a tight end get injured, right?
I'm not
Who
sure.
I think it was I don't know. Either way, like there's a lot of question marks for both of these teams, with Georgia having the Drew Bobo injury and having a really, really shoddy offensive performance and everything. So I don't know. I guess the best way to see how good these teams are is if they play a team like each other.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think Tennessee's like their most impressive win, like the second half of the season. And even that one, like on that pick six, like at halftime, it still happened. So, you know, you can't play well, if that play hadn't happened, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's a 14-point swing in a game you beat Tennessee by 17, you know? So it's like, yeah, if Tennessee just scores a touchdown right before the half, instead it's a 99-yard pick six. It's like even that in terms of just the ebbs and flows of the game, like Tennessee outgained you, had over 400 yards of offense and things like that. It's not like they necessarily dominated Tennessee in that matchup, but obviously still won the game. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you look at this team because me and you were kind of both pushing back on the narratives of Alabama just being the boogeyman for Georgia. It's like, no, it's a Nick Saban thing. He was beating a lot of teams. Like, we've played them close. We just lost a lot of them. We've lost to some national championship winning teams. It's not that big of a deal. And then this year happened. It's like, okay, I kind of put my hands up. Like, I guess they are the boogeyman. Like, because I can't make sense of it now because Georgia, like I said, like you said, Georgia's had their close calls as well. But I think for the most part, they've been a more consistent team than Alabama. At least like, you know what type of team you're getting on a week in, week out basis. Like Alabama, you don't even know what type of team you're getting. Like Ty Simpson's numbers look good, 3 touchdowns and no picks against Auburn. But like Auburn was absolutely shutting them down, and they actually had a pulse on the run game. And Auburn, no one's been able to run on Auburn most of the season. Yeah. So it's like, that was a weird game for the most part. Like, but then Oklahoma forces 3 turnovers. Like,
yeah, and I mean, Simpson has been really bad the last like month of the year. I mean, I don't think there's any other way to put it. Like, he's inaccurate. He misses really easy throws. His timing is off. He's always late. He has weird feet in the pocket. You know, he moves too much. He throws off base when he shouldn't be. And like, for a guy that was just anointed as the Heisman favorite, like right after that game they beat Georgia in, I mean, he kind of has turned into a pumpkin lately, man. I know that he threw 3 touchdowns against Auburn, and he made some nice throws in that game. Like that throw to Horton for the touchdown was a really great throw, but I don't really think he looked that impressive in that game either overall. You know, he had a nice scramble or whatever, but dude, he averaged 3.5 yards per attempt. He has
his scrambling was the most impressive part of his performance.
And he's slow.
Auburn.
He's not even a good, like, I don't think he's.
I don't know, man. He's agile.
He doesn't look like a very good athlete. He broke off one scramble, but like, dude, I just saw Jared Goff scramble for 24 yards on Thanksgiving against Green Bay Packers. I'm not going to sit here and say Jared Goff's a good scrambler because of that. Like, I just think he got lucky on a play. Like, he doesn't look that impressive to me. And maybe these are probably just going to be famous last words. You know, he's going to put up 13 third downs against Georgia, and I'm going to be sitting here on Saturday night talking about, well, I was wrong. But, you know, I don't know, man. I guess I don't see it with Simpson. He's been playing pretty poorly lately, and Georgia's pass rush could not get off the field last time these two teams played. That the infamous number that you know I wake up in cold sweats thinking about is 13 of 19 on third down. But like, you've got to think, here. Okay, I know I'm going on a tangent here, but I'm gonna try to bring it all back home here.
Okay.
There's two ways that you can look at that Georgia-Alabama loss. They made so many mistakes. I think they were the better team. After the 14, they climbed out of that 14-0 hole. I think they were the better team for most of that game. They just had a bunch of super uncharacteristic errors. They had the Taylor Taylor drop. They had the Nate Frazier fumble. They had the third down conversions. They had the 4th and 1 disaster.
Which Nate Frazier fumble you can call uncharacteristic to this point because he's held onto the ball well. But I don't interrupt you. Go ahead.
And so you can look at that and you can go either, well, those are all really fixable errors that this Georgia team that has played much better over the second half of the year is not going to repeat. Or you can look at that and say, look, the only team they're making those kinds of mistakes against is Alabama. They've got an Alabama problem. Alabama lives in their heads rent-free, and they just – it's a different feeling when they line up against the Crimson Tide than when they do against anybody else. And I don't have the answer to that question personally over which one of those schools of thought is correct. But I kind of err more on the side of, like, there's no way that Georgia is going to have that many self-inflicted errors again. And if they do, man, I mean, more power to Alabama. I guess they're just never going to beat them. I guess they just are always going to forget how to play football against the Crimson Tide. But I just think that the way that this game has trended lately and with how much Georgia kind of brought that loss upon itself in September and how unimpressive Alabama has looked offensively, I can kind of see a scenario where Georgia plays a better game than them again and comes out on top.
Yeah, and I think that's reasonable because I mean and shout out to Sanjay Ganur who's watching live. Garur, feel free to correct my pronunciation there, Sanjay. But this matchup is the only blemish on Kirby's resume. Sanjay's comment, and it really is. Like, you look at his record versus everyone else, and I had it. If I can find the stat, I had it written down somewhere. But Kirby's record versus everyone else versus Kirby's record versus Alabama, it is insane. I mean, it's literally like half of his losses in his career.
He's like 107-13 against everyone else.
I guess it wouldn't be that difficult.
1-7 against Alabama.
I guess it wouldn't be that difficult to do the math, right? And he's got like 19 losses or something
in his career are against Alabama. I mean, I get why people say that, man. I mean, that looks bad. I know that Kirby's own response to that was like, well, no one has a good record against them. They're Alabama. But like, you especially, dog, don't have a good record against them. And with how many just like infamous Georgia goofs have happened against Alabama in these last few years and when they play each other, I think it's impossible to ignore for sure.
Yeah, like you said, he's 116-20 overall. So that would make him 115-13 versus everybody else, not named Alabama, and that's like 90% once you get to that point. But yeah, that's definitely fair. It's like Georgia, you're not being compared against everybody else. You're being compared against the best, and you know, I think Clemson's record against Alabama would be worse if they played them as much as Georgia played them. But they played them 4 times, right? 4 times, and they split 2-2.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah. And it's not like Georgia Bama is like a guaranteed locked in annual rivalry either. They just always end up running into each other, and Alabama almost always wins, save for one time.
Yeah,
So
so you're
that's the
seeing
weird
it.
part about it. It's like it's one thing if it's like Georgia Auburn play each other every year, and Georgia has beaten them
Beating some down
eight
teams or
of the
something.
9 last times or whatever. But no, Georgia Bama like happens as a result of other things. It's always like a postseason game. It's only been a
Yeah.
regular season game 3 times in Kirby's entire tenure coaching the Bulldogs, which is to this point been 9 years long, going on 10. So
Yeah.
it is weird, man. It's weird. Like I don't know how else to say. Like it is truly bizarre. And then you factor in that he used to coach there and whatnot, and Saban is his mentor. Like I'm not trying to say that that's just it's never gonna happen. They'll never beat Alabama again, and they have some weird voodoo black cloud that hangs over them because like I've said, they're fully capable of winning this game, and I think that they will win this game. But to anyone who says that there is a certain psychological element that Georgia deals with when they play Alabama that they don't deal with against anybody else, I mean, none of us are putting on that helmet. None of us are going
Yeah.
in that locker room. We're not all that qualified to speak on it, but I understand why people say that, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, just the common sense in me is like a Kirby Smart coach team, how good of a mentality just Kirby teams have. Like, I'm sure they're not rattled when they're playing Alabama. Like, I'm sure they prepare the same way they do all that, all that cliche stuff, however you want to finish the sentence. But the results being what they are. And like you were talking about Ty Simpson earlier in the year versus what he's been the rest of the year. Although I don't think you're giving Ty Simpson enough credit for how athletic he is. Like he can
Not
make
exactly
plays
at
this
all.
with I swear, I promise you, he's gonna pick up 2 or 3 first downs with his legs in the game on Saturday. Like he's nimble. I'll put it that way. But we saw the same thing with Jalen Milroe. Dude's like flawed, borderline trash, like most of the season, and he's the best player in college football the week he's played against Georgia. Like I don't know what it is. Like
Milroe is a fascinating player, man. I can't help but kind of love the guy. Shout out to Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I was so sure. Is that graphic showing up on the screen there?
No, I'm seeing the Sanford Stadium
Let me see
jumbotron.
here.
I can see it on the little bitty screen that only you and I can see.
There, I think it was coming up. We'll figure it out. But I was trying to throw in. Oh, okay, I'll get it up there in a second. But yeah, I mean, I think it's like I know this can't be the case, but it's like I don't know, man. Like I don't want to subscribe to some of these narratives, but it's like I don't know. It's sometimes it can be undeniable.
I think where I've landed on it ultimately is that like Georgia definitely does have an Alabama problem that they don't have with other teams. But I don't think that we can just say that that's true and then just from here on out be like, well, they're never going to beat them. Like I think it would just be a ham-fisted way to talk about football and make predictions just by being like, well, they own them. Because you still have to play the game. And once you really get into the weeds of it, like there are things that, there are ways that Georgia can beat them. There are ways that Georgia can beat anybody because they're a very good team. But yeah, the Georgia can't beat Bama narrative is well earned. But it's also not like they're literally 0-8 against Bama. If we were sitting here and Georgia had literally never beaten Alabama before ever, then maybe I would just throw my hands up and say, they shouldn't even play the game. But I have seen it. I saw Keely Ringo pick off that pass. So I know it can be done. It's just a lot harder to do it against those guys than it is against anyone else. But like Kirby Smart says, I guess, that's because it's Alabama. They beat everybody, but they really beat Georgia.
That's fair. Like the one, it might be one, but it is a big one. You won the national championship with that one. And then it's not Georgia's fault that Alabama wasn't good enough to be in the SEC championship the next year when they ran the table. So yeah, so here's the stats I have on the game here. So as I always like to do, the stats versus Power 4 competition on the season. Alabama played 10 games versus the P4, Georgia only 9. Georgia averaged 31 a game in those games. Alabama just 27. Almost identical defensive points per game. Georgia 20.4 versus Alabama 19.8. It's insanely consistent how many games Alabama gave up between like 17 and like 24 points. It's almost all of their Power 4 games, but a couple of the look at the third down. That was probably the most alarming stat to me. That Alabama's at 41% on the year. What were they doing in their other games? Like, what is 13 of 19? That's like
how did like
12 of 18 to be 67%. So yeah, roughly 70% of their third downs against Georgia, and they were 41.7% on the season.
Yeah, that's. And it's also, I mean, I know this kind of gets lost in the whole 13 conversions of it all, but it's crazy that Alabama was even facing third downs that often. 19 third downs is a lot.
Yeah.
Never mind that it's between the hedges and it's, Georgia fans screaming at you, trying to make sure you don't hear the play call. But to even face 19 third downs is a lot. And that's kind of why I think we're due for a little. Now, again, this is all could be famous last words, but I won't hedge. I don't mean to keep hedging my opinion. I'll stop doing that. But I think that we're due for some regression to the mean in the third down category. I don't think Alabama's going to face that many third downs, but I also kind of think this offense is just more prone to third down and third and long situations just because they can't run the ball. Like, they don't do that well on early downs, which is why they face that many third downs. That's why Georgia had them facing 19 third downs in that game because, Alabama in that game, they rushed for 3 yards a carry or whatever. So I do think that this Georgia pass rush, it's not magically fixed. It's not like a great unit right now. But it is a lot better. I mean, Gabe Harris has really become a hell of a player this second half of the year. You've got Zayden Walker starting to do stuff for them. You've got Elijah Griffin really emerging as a nice force in the interior. Him and Christian Miller have been a good duo. So I don't think that there's going to be that same just complete lack of pressure in this game. And I think that Georgia's going to be able to get off the field a little bit better in this game. I mean, I hope so, at least. Shoot, right? Like, I think that is such an egregious statistic to me, that 13 of 19. And Georgia's run defense is so good, and the secondary has been playing so much better, and the pass rush has been better. But I just think all that put together, I think we're due for not 13 of 19 on third down, which will make that made all the difference last game. I think that can make all the difference this game in Georgia's favor.
Yeah, that might be the most lukewarm take of all time, that they won't do 13.
They will what if they just do it again?
Yeah, I would say the second best, I guess the second most third down conversions they had in a game was South Carolina. They were 8 of 16. 13. That's
a good game, but that's also like normal.
Yeah, that's like normal. So looking at these stats, the not only the rushing offense, like we knew how much better Georgia was at running the ball, 185 yards a game versus 103 for Alabama. But the run defense, I think, kind of surprised me because I feel like Alabama's defense is kind of taking strides kind of the second half of the season. So to see Georgia's now below 100 yards a game, like this makes this kind of on par run defense wise with just Georgia's best defenses in 2020 and 2021, 2022. Like, maybe not. I think one of those years they were giving up like 70 something yards a game on the ground. So maybe not 2021, but below 100 yards a game on the ground is where Georgia belongs. And, this run defense has been really good all year. To see Alabama giving up 138, like Georgia gave up 128 on the ground a year ago, and it was a bad run defense by Georgia standards. So this team can absolutely be gashed on the ground. Like you look at some of their performances they've given up this year: 230 to Florida State, 227 to Georgia,
really bad.
163 to Missouri, who does have one of the best running backs in college football. 152 last week at Auburn.
Vanderbilt went for like 7 yards a carry on him.
Oh, you're right. Vanderbilt, because they only ran for 135, but it was on like 17 carries or something. Yeah, 7.1 yards a carry. Yeah, you're right. 6.9 versus Georgia. And then on the other side, the Auburn game, go figure, one of the best run defenses in the country, was the first game all season where they've averaged better than 4 yards a carry offensively. So it's been on all Ty Simpson. And to your point, like the 13 of 19 thing, it's like that's just causing a team to execute like so many times, like in high pressure, high leverage situations. And they basically did it in Sanford Stadium, and maybe they can't do that again. They haven't done that against most of the teams they've played. And then there's the Ryan Williams of it all.
Yeah, what's he gonna do, man?
No targets in the Alabama game, like essentially benched. I don't know what's going on with Ryan Williams, like one of the more dynamic receivers. I always did feel like he was on the overrated side, but I did acknowledge, like, to be overrated, you have to be thought of as being really, really good, So he was still really good. Not as consistent as you wanted him to be or expected him to be as an 18-year-old now, his sophomore year in college. But yeah, man, I don't know if obviously Isaiah Horton is producing just fine. But yeah, I mean, without Ryan Williams, their pass offense is not nearly as dangerous in terms of like a big play threat. Like and granted, they didn't make a lot of big plays versus Georgia, and Ryan Williams dropped that one early. There's a reason they were 13 of 19, because it was 3rd and 8 and they'd pick up 12. It was 3rd and 4 and they'd pick up 7. It was just all day pretty much.
Yeah, that was a really weird. I mean, it's been kind of a weird year for him overall, Williams, but yeah, the fact that he was completely MIA in that Auburn game, and then even against Georgia, he had a dropped 60-yard touchdown pass. Like, it's definitely weird. And Alabama's passing offense is definitely a completely different animal when all three of those guys, Williams, Horton, and Bernard, are all clicking and they're all playing well. They're all in sync with Simpson. So if Williams is just going to be a complete non-factor, like, Ty Simpson is already a guy that I think kind of falls out of rhythm a lot, like for like entire quarters. And if he doesn't have, a guy that's consistently getting open and being consistently reliable, then who knows what that could look like. I mean, obviously good news for them is they still have 2 other really good players there, but yeah, who knows what he's going to come out there looking like, especially against the Georgia secondary that, I know that we haven't talked about this at all, but Daniel Harris hit the portal. But the reason for that is because DeMello Jones and Ellis Robinson have been, balling out lately. They've been the 2 best corners in that room, and Dalen Everett is still playing pretty solid out there. So that's a really interesting matchup, because I think Georgia's secondary is, those corners are way ahead of where they were in the Alabama game and in that whole month of September overall. And Alabama's receivers, particularly Ryan Williams. I don't mean to lump Bernard and Horton in with this, but yeah, if Williams isn't the same, dynamic Georgia killer that we know he can be, and he's been in the past, then that adds another weird wrinkle to an Alabama offense that's already pretty inconsistent at best, I'd say. Bad at worst. Oh, you're muted.
My bad. Yeah, to give the receivers credit, and this is anecdotal because we're not necessarily watching every down of an Alabama game the way we are locked into a Georgia game, but I swear I see two or three plays every Alabama game where a dude's running open 40, 50 yards downfield and Ty Simpson overthrows him. Like, I don't know what Ty Simpson's numbers are on his deep ball. I'm not saying he didn't throw a good deep ball, but it seems like there's 2 or 3 missed opportunities a game. We saw one against Georgia that one Ty Simpson drilled, but it was the receiver who dropped it. But so I do think these receivers are still very dangerous. So don't make it sound like Georgia's gonna shackle these receivers. But I'm definitely encouraged of like the steps that Georgia's secondary has taken. I think the Texas game, the Georgia Tech game down the stretch, like those are very good defensive performances. Like to give up 19 points total in those two games. Yeah, I am encouraged by that fact.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, Robinson in particular has been. I'm not sure how many. I mean, I don't think there have been many cover corners better as of late than Mr. Ellis Robinson the fourth. I mean, he has been as good as advertised lately, and then obviously DeMello Jones has been such a revelation on the other end. Like they might even. Dalen Everett is one of the most experienced and solid corners in the SEC. He's probably the third best guy in that room right now. So I agree. I shouldn't make it sound like Georgia's just going to come out there and lock them up either, because Alabama has some dudes over there, and they won't. I mean, you can't completely shut down a receiving core like that. But I think the national narrative about Georgia is like the secondary is suspect. And I think the safeties are, but I don't think the corners are.
Yeah, and to your point, shout out to Brent Rollins on Twitter. After giving up touchdowns versus Tennessee and Alabama, Ellis Robinson has allowed 8 receptions on 18 targets, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 3 pass breakups, with a 17.9 passer rating allowed. That passer rating allowed is the lowest in the SEC and second lowest in the P4 over that time frame. So what is Alabama? That's like week 5 or something. So basically 2/3 of the season, he's been one of the best corners in college football.
Yeah, that's pretty elite stuff, man. Ellis Island. He's a beast.
Did you just come up with that just now, or has that been a thing?
I've heard it before. I mean,
I was like, that was impressive.
Perfect nickname. I mean, I've heard it before, but it really needs to start catching on more.
Yeah, I mean, Humpnail Boot and Ellis Island. We really make those catch on. I think we missed the boat on Humpnail Boot. But also Tennessee not having as good of a season. Maybe it's still a great win, regardless. It's not important right now.
Sick game.
But yeah, that's a good call. Also, just refreshing to have a Georgia DB who's playing the ball in the air. Like Ellis Robinson is playing the ball. Like it's just so frustrating at times when guys are just playing the man, and Georgia, maybe I'm just a fan with my red and black glasses over here, but I swear they get every 50-50 pass interference goes against Georgia. I'm watching a lot of their college football games, and I probably can bank on getting a text from my brother of just like they would have called that if it was Georgia every time. But yeah, our DBs are handsy, but yeah, I think they really to have when guys are making plays on the ball, the Kamari Lassiters of the world, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I kind of think the way to coach DBs in general is let them be as handsy as they want and live with a pass interference flag or two, but they're not going to call it every time. So,
yeah, I mean, that's fair. And it's 15 yards, like depending on what you're giving up, like Ellis Robinson should have gotten a pass interference on one of those Chris Brazzell touchdowns. Tackle the dude. Don't get beat for a 70-yard touchdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Score prediction, sir. Should we just get to it? Or anything else you want to say? Any other?
I think so. I think I pretty much said all the key things I think are going to be key. Biggest matchup of this game, or mismatch, I guess, is Alabama's poor rushing offense against Georgia's run defense, especially if Jam Miller is out. I also don't really believe in Simpson to beat this defense twice. I don't think he's very good. I think Georgia's pass rush and its front seven overall has improved just enough to where I don't think they're going to get completely humiliated on third downs like that. So, and I also don't think, I don't think Georgia's going to have as many moments where they shoot themselves in the foot. I don't think there's going to be, drop touchdowns or fumbles inside their own red zone this time. And if they happen again, then they happen again, and Georgia doesn't deserve to win. and so fair enough. But I'm gonna choose to err on the side of I don't think that a Kirby Smart team is gonna do that kind of thing twice against the same team, even if it is Alabama. But I still think it'll be a close game. I still think Alabama's a really good team. I mean, they've got really good players at receiver. They've got a great offensive line for the most part, even though that's kind of been shaky at times. They've got a really great defensive front. They've got talent in the secondary everywhere. So I'll go with I'm not expecting a shootout. I don't think either of these teams are really going to want to sign up for that, and I think they're both going to. Georgia especially is going to try to establish the run and control the pace of the game that way. So I'll go 24-20 Georgia. Very similar final to the regular season, but flipped the other way with one less point.
You said 24-20?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Georgia's like a 1.5 point favorite, I think, last I saw.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know if it's changed since then. Yeah, and one other, and this might be cliche, one other stat that was on the screen there a second ago was just the turnover differential. I just feel like this is so important, just from a vibes perspective, since so much of this Georgia-Alabama series seems to be just so much vibes driven. It's not, we seem to be a better team, or at least as good of a team as them most of these matchups, but for whatever reason, the vibes are off. And turnovers are just the ultimate thing that just shift momentum. And in those Power 4 matchups this year, Alabama's +6 in the turnover margin, forced 15 turnovers to just 9 on the season. Georgia's forced only 8 turnovers to their 9 that they've turned it over. So they're -1 in that category. And they were -1 on that day in Sanford Stadium. So I think that's just going to be the most important factor of this game. Georgia plays a clean game. It feels like they've been a better team than Alabama, definitely over like the last month or so. Yeah. They've been more consistent. But yeah, I think I'm with you. Ultimately, like Georgia's ability to run the ball, Gunnar Stockton, it's also his second SEC start. I mean, I guess it was an early start for Ty Simpson as well when they played the first time, but Gunnar Stockton has come a long way. Before the Georgia Tech game, I was rooting for him. I was on top of I was the king of the Gunnar Stockton for Heisman fan club. But now I think Gunnar Stockton is still just a solid quarterback. And if you're able to run the ball the way they've been able to run the ball all season, and an Alabama team who's gotten run on all season, including the other time they played Georgia, like I think just the way the game happened in September. Was it September or was it October? Yeah. It was September. It was the way the game happened that day. It's like Georgia can win that game exactly the way it happened that day if Taylor Taylor catches that pass, or if they convert the 4th down with Cash Jones. Seems like a lot, especially Georgia's been a really good 4th down team this year. Seems like a lot of them have been, QB sneaks to Gunnar. Maybe do something like that. They ran a couple against Texas as well. I think if Georgia maybe they were looking ahead. I can't even say they were looking ahead against Georgia Tech. We didn't know we were in the SEC championship. I don't know how to. I think they explain the Tech performance. That's fair. They're a flawed team. They're not perfect. So, with all that said, it's funny how these are like two of like, if you're just talking about the best defensive programs in college football, I think these would probably be the two year in, year out, probably the first two you think about. And the winner in these 8 matchups has averaged 34 points a game. So it isn't necessarily the low scoring. I don't think the loser has ever even been in the teens in any of these matchups. I think the loser is definitely in the 20s. So with all that said, as a Georgia show here, sir, I feel like we're obviously picking Georgia here. We cannot pick this Alabama team that just obviously Georgia barely got at Jordan Hare Stadium with a win as well, but Alabama did it more recently, and they've looked more flawed down the stretch. Obviously, I had the loss to Oklahoma just a couple weeks ago. I just like where Georgia is right now more than Alabama. And maybe it takes 30 points to win this game. I'm going to say Georgia wins this one 31-24 and gets Kirby his 4th SEC championship.
Yeah. Second win over Bama. Yeah, it'll be a good one, man. I think it should be another crazy installment of a crazy rivalry. Maybe some folks in Tuscaloosa don't even view this as a rivalry, but I sure as hell do. So
I would understand if they didn't view it as a rivalry with how they've dominated us, but
yeah.
I think they know how big of a game it is every time they play Georgia, and I don't know if they're nervous because if you just
their season's on the line, man. They should be nervous.
But it's just in terms of like when Georgia's playing a good Georgia Tech team, it's like, but we dominate you guys. Like, what are we doing here? Like, we're I guess we'll have to prove it again.
Don't compare us.
I don't. Yeah, I can't. It's the last time. But yeah, you're watching live. Throw your score in the comments there. Be on the record before you call us idiots for getting it wrong. Put your comment out there. Ned Underwood chime in. We rolling, and I assume he means we as the Bulldogs. Rolling. I don't know. Roll Tide is a little close there, you know. But no, I'll give Ned the benefit of the doubt there. Appreciate you watching live, sir. That's all I got, sir. Anything else for you?
Yeah, that's all I got too, man. I think we're hopping back on in a couple days anyway, so we'll be talking about this game even more. So
yes, good call. On Wednesday we will be with the Alabama Voice of College Football crew. We'll be joining them, going into enemy territory. So check that out. I believe 7:00 Eastern time. We will be going live. So check that out. But I appreciate everyone who's tuned in, everyone who's watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. But as always, until next time, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.